Okay, I am trying something new. I'm going to, instead of read just one article, in this video, I'm going to read two on different topics because I want to, spam you guys less. Instead of, oh, I want to do a video on this and this. And then I, in quick succession, do two videos. And then you guys are spammed with all these videos and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, shut up, Chuck. So I'm going to try just doing one. They don't have a through line. There isn't one subject to this video. But I'm going to try this and let me know if you prefer one topic, one video. And in that case, I'll go back to doing it that I see an article, I do a video on it, and then I see another article, I do a video on it. So just let me know. But anyway, let's just get right to the first article. Conservative-backed group is creating a list of federal workers it suspects could resist Trump plans. Now, for those who are unaware, there is this manuscript, this manifest called Project 2025, created by the Heritage Foundation, of all the horrible things that they want to do. And I'm sure there's plenty of people who are watching my channel who actually don't think it's horrible, but I think they are. It is. And I'll have to look at Project 2025 again and see if there's a way for me to tell you guys more about it, in smaller chunks. I know it's 900 pages. I don't know how much each section is. But anyway, the first part is called Schedule F. That is the thing that's going to get them to be able to force all these other horriblenesses through government. Now, for those who aren't aware or who need a refresher, most of government aren't elected politicians. Most of government are federal workers who work whether it's a Democratic administration or Republican administration, because they are working a specific job like the National Weather Service or the EPA or the IRS. These are not people who have a political bent to their jobs. They are just, in the case of the National Weather Service, they're weather scientists. And they go where the science tells them, and they don't engage in politics, at least not in their jobs. So what Schedule F and this group that I'm going to talk about would try to make them all Trump loyalists. So if you remember that Trump tried to change the trajectory of a hurricane with a Sharpie. If you have Trump loyalists, you don't have to do that. They would just create a inauthentic trajectory of the hurricane so it matches what Trump wants them to. Which means that you can no longer rely on things like the National Weather Service for accurate information, because they're going to be at the beck and call of Trump. So, yeah, not a good thing. I do not care if you are pro-Trump. Making all federal agencies, that whether they're political or not political, is not a good thing. That will just lead, because what exactly are you gaining by telling people inaccurate information about where a hurricane is going to go, simply because the president doesn't want that reality to manifest. So let's pretend it's doing something else. I can't imagine anybody, even if you are a Trump backer, would want that. If you're living in an area where hurricanes happen, you'd like to know if the hurricane's going to hit you or if it's going to bypass you. Because if the National Weather Service wants to bypass, wants to do what Trump wants and make it bypass, Mar-a-Lago. Well, the people who live there in that area will think they're safe, and then suddenly there's a massive hurricane. Nobody wants that. So, yeah, there are consequences to this, and I'm just going to read the article. From his home office in small town Kentucky, a seasoned political operative is quietly investigating scores of federal employees suspected of being hostile to the policies of Republican Donald Trump, a highly unusual and potentially chilling effort that dovetails with broader conservative preparations for a new White House, which I assume is Project 2025. Now, again, being hostile, you don't necessarily have to actively dislike Trump. Someone who's in the office who actively dislikes Trump. All you have to do is say something he doesn't like. Whether it be because you're following facts and evidence, or because you vehemently detest the man. Either way, the end result is the same. Trump doesn't want you around. So, Tom Jones and his American Accountability Foundation, oh, the irony, are digging into the backgrounds, social media posts, and commentary of key high-ranking government employees, starting with the Department of Homeland Security. They're relying in part on tips from his network of conservative contacts, including workers. In a move that alarms some, they're preparing to publish the findings online. Yes, because, let's publish it online and direct your goons to harass them. Yeah, that sounds good. With a $100,000 grant from the Heritage Foundation, the goal is to post 100 names of government workers to a website this summer to show a potentially new administration who might be standing in the way of a second-term Trump agenda and ripe for scrutiny, reclassifications, reassignments, or firings. Can you imagine? Here you are, a climate scientist. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just following the science. Whether it says what you hope it says or not, you're just doing your job. And you get fired simply because you exist. I mean, come on. How does this benefit anyone? So, we need to understand who these people are and what they do, said Jones, a former Capitol Hill aide to Republican senators. If you think that the government can run strictly on Trump loyalists, then I don't think you would understand what any of these employees do. Because if you did, you wouldn't be trying this nonsense. The concept of compiling and publicizing a list of government employees shows the lengths Trump's allies are willing to go to ensure nothing or no one will block his plans in a potential second term. Jones's Project Sovereignty 2025 comes as Heritage's Project 2025 lays the groundwork with policies, proposals, and personnel ready for a possible new White House. And again, yeah, scary stuff. The effort focused on top career government officials who aren't appointees within the political structure, and I cannot emphasize this enough, these are not politicians we are talking about, has stunned democracy experts and shocked the civil service community in what they compare with the Red Scare of McCarthyism. I think this is much worse than McCarthyism. I mean, yeah, there's one thing to blacklist a bunch of people you suspect of communism. It's another thing to have a bunch of yes men in government. Because actually, no, McCarthyism took on society as well. So, yeah, McCarthyism was worse. I take that back. Jacqueline Simon, policy director at the American Federation of Government Employees, said the language being used, the Heritage Foundation's announcement praised the group for ferreting out anti-American bad actors, is shocking. I'm sorry. A lot of people say, oh, this is shocking, we're stunned, blah, blah, blah. Where have you been? Exactly what was it about Trump's first term that made you think, oh yeah, or actually what conservatives have been wanting to do since the 70s at the very least? How is any of this shocking exactly? I mean, how can you be blindsided at this point? Maybe by the sheer gall of making it public and just, trotting out that this is what they want to do as opposed to hiding the fact and that this is going to endear them to people. Maybe that's the shocking part, but the Republicans have been going down this road for a long time, so yeah. Civil servants are often ex-military personnel and are required to take an oath to the Constitution to work for the federal government. Not a loyalty test to a president, she and others said. But there are plenty of people, I actually had a commenter on one of my videos point out that they don't give a rat's ass about the Constitution. They want what they want. So, the Constitution is just a piece of paper. It's in the way, unless it says something you like. In which case, no, we should follow the Constitution. But when it comes to things they don't like, say, not having the 10 Commandments in public schools, yeah, we're going to just ignore the Constitution because, it doesn't mean anything. So, yeah. Trump wants loyalty. He does not actually care if it's constitutional, and he sure as hell doesn't care if the people are competent. He just wants people to do what he wants. It just seems as though their goal is to try to menace federal employees and sow fear. No shit, said Simon, whose union backs President Joe Biden, a Democrat, for re-election. Yeah, that is the point. As Trump, who has been convicted of felony charges in a hush money case and is under a 4-count federal indictment accusing him of working to overturn his 2020 election loss, faces a likely rematch with Biden this fall, far-right conservatives have vowed to take a wrecking ball to what they call the deep state bureaucracy, which, ironically, they want to create. Because how can you get more deep state than every nook and cranny of the government, regardless of what it is, whether it be the National Weather Service, the FBI, the IRS, all serve the president. All will fall in line to what the president wants. You can't get more deep state than that. So, yeah. Generally, if you want to know what Republicans are thinking, find out what they're accusing the other side of, and then you'll know what they themselves want to do. The Trump campaign has said outside groups don't speak for the ex-president, who alone sets his policy priorities. Uh-huh. Right. That's why he was easily manipulated in his first term. And that was with people who eventually realized that they had to get out because Trump is just that crazy. So, are we sure about that? Or the fact that there's this circle jerk between Fox News and him. He'll hear something on Fox News, he'll repeat it, and then Fox News will repeat what the president said as if that made it real or something. So, yeah, I highly question that. Conservatives view the federal workforce as overstepping its role to become a power center that can drive or thwart a president's agenda. You mean by recognizing reality? Seriously, what are we talking about here? There's something called checks and balances here, guys. The president can't do everything he wants to do. If he could, Trump would have nuked hurricanes. He would have had people injecting bleach, and nobody to stop them, because everybody would be like, "Oh, the president said it's fine, so it's fine," even though that's literally injecting poison. But whatever. So, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have the president be able to do anything and everything his little mind suddenly conjures up. Particularly during the Trump administration, government officials came under attack from the White House and Republicans on Capitol Hill, as his own cabinet often raised objections to some of his more singular or even unlawful proposals. Exactly. While Jones's group won't necessarily be recommending whether to fire or reassign federal workers it lists, the work aligns with Heritage's far-reaching Project 2025 blueprint for a conservative administration. Heritage's Project 2025 proposes reviving the Trump Schedule F policy that would try to reclassify tens of thousands of federal workers as political appointees who could enable mass dismissals, although a Biden administration rule seeks to make that more difficult. The Heritage Project is working to recruit and train a new generation to travel to Washington to fill government jobs. And of course, they're wanting them in the mold of their vision, as opposed to what's actually happening in the world. Alright, in announcing the $100,000 Innovation Award last month, Heritage said it'd support American Accountability Foundation's investigative researchers, in-depth reports, and educational efforts to alert Congress, a conservative administration, and the American people of the presence of anti-American bad actors burrowed into the administrative state and ensure appropriate action is taken. You know, it reminds me of what's happening in the State Department. There are people who are upset at the policy that the administration is taking on the war in Gaza, and so they leave because they are just so fed up with the way things are going. That is the way it should be. There should be pushback. There should be people who are willing to say, maybe we shouldn't do that. And these are the reasons why, instead of being forced out. Because when you have just a monolith of opinions, you get something like, was it, which president was it that had just yes men? I think it was Nixon. And what ended up happening to him? Oh, yeah, Watergate. So, yeah, it's good to have different viewpoints in the government, even if it's under your own administration, because that keeps you honest. It makes sure that you don't do something completely boneheaded like, I don't know, telling people that injecting bleach is perfectly fine, or that a hurricane is going to change its trajectory just because a Sharpie exists. Or let's see, what else? I mean, Trump used to get along with Dr. Fauci until Dr. Fauci wasn't telling him what he wanted to hear. And then suddenly he didn't like him anymore because Fauci actually, followed the science. Because he's not a politician. He's not someone who has to answer to Trump. Well, he has to answer to him, but he doesn't have to tell him what he wants to hear. His job is to tell him the facts. If Trump is too unable to or unwilling to accept the fact that the facts do not comport to his feelings, which a lot of Republicans like to say, facts don't care about your feelings. This is a perfect example of feelings don't care about your facts. And so that's when their relationship went south, because Fauci was following the facts and Trump just wanted the whole thing to go away, because obviously if Fauci was to get up and say the pandemic is over, it would magically end or something. All right. Heritage President Kevin Roberts said the weaponization of the federal government has been possible only because of the deep state of entrenched leftist bureaucrats. Dude, the bureaucrats at the head of the FBI are all Republicans. What leftists? He said he was proud to support the work of American Accountability Foundation workers in their fight to hold our government accountable and drain it of bad actors. It's still not telling us how they're bad actors. First off, leftist bureaucrats? No, they're bureaucrats. They've worked under Republican administrations and Democrat. You don't do that if your whole point is blah 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 is elections and party, and yeah, you wouldn't be able to do that. So again, what are you talking about? Oh, I know what they're talking about. They can't get away with all the shit they want to get away with, so they decide that these are bad people. They're bad actors because in reality, they are the ones who are the bad actors. The federal government employs about 2.2 million people, including those in the Washington, D.C. area, and workers whose the unions say many Americans know as friends or neighbors in communities across the country. Exactly, because we have people in Department of Corrections. What's political about that? I mean, there might be individuals within the department who have their ideas about how to better lower the recidivism rate. But that's because they work in the Department of Corrections. They have that expertise. Not because of some political party. So, yeah. Yeah, and you have federal workers, and federal, state workers in every state. There's governments everywhere. So there's federal, there's local, there's state. So you're going to meet a government worker. And a lot of them are going to be federal because the federal government has its hands in every state because it's a freaking federal government. So you have to have some sort of federal presence and at some level. Depending on department. And so yeah, I just do not know what these people think they're accomplishing. About 4,000 positions in the government are considered political appointees who routinely change from one presidential administration to the next. But most are career professionals, from landscapers at Veterans Administration cemeteries to economists at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Just think about this for a second. Now, I can't imagine that they wouldn't be able to find a Trumpiot who couldn't do landscaping at the cemetery. That is possible. That is possible. I will not say that's not possible. But because what is he going to do? What damage could that person do? I can't imagine that the cemeteries would be unkempt. I mean, it's landscaping. It's not something that that certain people refuse to learn because of politics or something. So I can see that easily being filled by a Trump loyalist. That shouldn't be a problem. But economists at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, just think about it. If Trump wants to, make the unemployment look better than it is, or if he wants one demographic to look better in labor statistics than they really are, he could force his Trump loyalists to do that. I mean, the whole point of statistics is so people can put out, I see we're lagging behind in this category, so maybe we should do outreach. So more people of this demographic is represented, or however the labor statistics are used. Imagine not getting accurate information because a man-child is in the White House and refuses to accept what the statistics are telling. Maybe I will have to do 2 videos because this is already half an hour long. The public list making conjures from the era of Joseph McCarthy, the senator who conducted grueling hearings into suspected communist sympathizers during the Cold War. And that wasn't just government. There was Hollywood, and I'm sure there were other places as well. The hearings were orchestrated by a top staffer, Roy Cohn, who became a confidant of a younger Trump. Yeah, not surprised. Not surprised at all. Skye Perryman, CEO of the advocacy group Democracy Forward, said it is deeply disturbing and reminiscent of the darker parts of American history. It is. Just as a fun aside, at, I think it was the Cannes Film Festival, they debuted a movie called The Apprentice, or just Apprentice, based on the life of Trump. And it's not a nice portrayal. They don't show him in a good light. And actually, the financial backer is super pissed because he thought that this was going to be a glowing piece on Trump. Which, I don't know how it was pitched to him, but Maybe he just saw it was on Trump and just assumed, because who in their right mind could possibly see something wrong with it? I don't know. But under Trump's administration, if there were a bunch of yes men and nobody could stop him from doing anything, I could see him stopping that movie from being shown, because it doesn't make him look good. I could totally see that. Publicly naming government workers is an intimidation tactic to try to chill the work of these civil servants, she said, and part of a broader retribution agenda underway this election. They're seeking to undermine our democracy, she said. They're seeking to undermine the way that our government works for people. Yeah, because Trump only cares about himself. He doesn't care how things work for the people. He just wants things to work well for him. Jones, from his desk overlooking rick houses storing barrels in the bourbon capital of Bardstown, scoffed at the comparisons to McCarthyism as nonsense. Does he know what that is? Because, you know the old adage, those who do not know history are doomed to repeat it. So, does he know what that is? Maybe he does and doesn't care, and he's just saying it's nonsense, or he doesn't know what McCarthyism is. One of the two. He's a former staffer to then Senator Jim DeMint, the South Carolina conservative Republican who later led Heritage and now helms the Conservative Policy Institute, where American Accountability Foundation has a mailing address. Ah. Yeah, okay. Jones also worked for Senator Ron Johnson, Republican Wisconsin. Oh, all the greatest hits. And provided opposition research for Texas GOP Senator Ted Cruz's 2016 presidential bid. So you're the guy who tried to convince people that Ted Cruz's father had something to do with Kennedy's assassination? Seriously, what the hell? But yeah, it sounds like a great guy. Totally immersed in crazy. With 6 researchers, Jones's team operates remotely across the country, poring over the information about federal workers within Homeland Security, the State Department, and other agencies that deal with immigration and border issues. Their focus is on the highest ranks of the civil servants' GS-13, GS-14, and GS-15 employees, and those in senior executive positions who could put up roadblocks to Trump's plans for tighter borders and more deportations. I think it's important to the next administration to understand who those people are, Jones said. You know, they keep talking about immigration. We had a bipartisan immigration bill. Trump said, don't pass it because I want to run on it. And there are so many people across this country who just, I believe him. Even though it's on the frickin' news. And there are so many people who take Trump at his word and treat it like Biden isn't doing anything, even though he is. So yeah, this is the type of people we're working with. He dismissed the risk that could be involved in publicly posting the names, salary information, and other details of federal workers who have some level of privacy, or the idea his group's work could put employees' livelihoods in jeopardy. Either you're dumb as a brick, or this is the point, but you just don't want to admit it because either you're in denial and you want to desperately believe you're a good person, want others to believe you're a good person, or you just don't want people to know what's in the front of their frickin' faces. And if you think if you deny it, that somehow it won't become manifest. You don't get to make policy and then say, hey, don't scrutinize me, he said. Which is not what you're fucking doing. You're not scrutinizing their policy. You are actually attacking people because you think that reality is bad. The only reality you want is the one you think you can create. Not that you don't like their policy. You do not like them as people. Because this has nothing to do with politics. And I just don't know. Do you really believe? I mean, it's possible he really truly believes that everything in government is political. And he just can't grasp that it's not. I mean, there are so many people whenever I said I believe Fauci, oh, you believe the media. Since when is Fauci frickin' media? So there are people who are that dumb, who do not accept that there is more to the government than just politics. So, yeah, great. If Trump becomes president again, which there's a good chance he will, this is going to be horrible. This is just going to be horrible, and I don't even want to think of the damage. He acknowledged some of the work is often a gut check or instinct about which federal employees would be suspected of trying to block a conservative agenda. Translation, these people don't agree with what conservatives say, so they must be against the conservative agenda. Not that the conservative agenda is in some la-la land, but because they're somehow just anti-conservative or something. Oh, God. We're looking at, are there wrong people on the bus right now that are, openly hostile to efforts to secure the southern border, he said. Oh my God, are you kidding me? What is wrong with you? Do you even understand what you're saying? It's not that these people don't want... Do you really believe there's an open border? Do you seriously believe there's a freaking open border and people are just like, oh, can't do anything. Everybody in. That is not what's happening. I have no idea what you think is happening in government. But you have drunk the Kool-Aid so bad. His own group came under scrutiny as it first probed Biden nominees. Biden has repealed Trump's Schedule F executive order in January 2021, but a Government Accountability Office report in 2022 found that agencies believed it could be reinstated by a future administration. Right, because it was an executive order. Because that's how executive orders work. Does the person who wrote this article know how executive orders work? So we have someone doing an article on the government who doesn't seem to know how government works. Cool. Since then, the Biden administration issued a rule that would make it harder to fire workers. A new administration could direct the Office of Personnel Management to undo the regulation, but the process would take time and be open to legal challenges. Now, obviously, that's a double-edged sword because take tenure, for instance. There are certain professors that you wonder, how in the hell are you still teaching? They shouldn't still be teaching, but because they have tenure, you can't do anything unless they do something really bad. So I can see how it could turn into a double-edged sword, but at the same time, you shouldn't be firing civil servants simply because they aren't doing what you want them to do, even though that was never their job to begin with. So, you know what? This is already a 40-minute long video. So instead of going on with this video and doing what I was going to do, which was a second article, I'm going to do 3 videos. This one, I'm going to do the one from the end of August of last year, which talks about Project 2025. So it's going to be a continuation of this video. And then I'm going to go to the Supreme Court, which actually did another reasonable thing, which whenever they do reasonable things, it leaves me flabbergasted. But anyway, that's what I'm going to do for now, because this is already a very long video and I don't want to make this a 2-hour video. So anyway, with that, I will see you guys in the next video.